beautiful Julie Perry here of the Yacht Insider's Guide to become a yacht stewardess. For anybody that has an interest in getting on board yachts and working in the industry, this is a great guide to help you navigate the waters and how to get into the industry. So I definitely encourage that, and you can talk to Julie afterwards, I'm sure, as well. But with that, I would like to introduce the beautiful Julie Perry, a brand new board member for the U.S. Superyacht Association. And of course, a man that needs absolutely no introduction at all, the fantastic Captain Lee. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Lee.
All right, we're testing 1, 2. Are we hearing me? Okay, good. Lee.
Yes.
What is this?
Yes. Is this working?
So we've given him the wired mic. I'm going to hold this here because we are going to come around and ask questions. So
why does this feel so foreign to me? Just like
you should be hidden microphones, right? That's
something.
what you're used to.
Yeah,
we were just trying to remember. We don't remember if this is the 4th or the 5th year that we've done this, but I
really don't know.
I have to say though, as this is the 7th season of Below Deck.
That's correct, 7 seasons.
I would like to thank you that you'll still come back and do this with us. You're kind of a big deal, man. I see you in People magazine.
I'm still just a captain that gets filmed doing his job. That's it.
And we love it that you still come back and talk to us, because he really is. I mean, I see him on What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. And
I saw Andy last night. His show is in town.
Really?
Him and Anderson Cooper. If you guys haven't seen the show, Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen, they are hilarious together. It's really a lot of fun. Yeah.
So, season 7, and every year that we do this, we tell this story because maybe some of you have read his book. Has anyone read Lee's book? Running with the Tides? It's phenomenal. I actually listened to it because you can get the audio book, and it was a little crazy because I'm walking around the neighborhood, with my headphones on, listening to Lee reading his life story into my ear. It's a phenomenal story, though. He's got such humble roots because I'm from the Midwest. So I love to bring up how Lee is actually from Michigan, owned a restaurant in Indiana, and then somehow stumbled into this position. Tell everyone how you came to be captain on Below Deck.
We had a restaurant, 3 restaurants in Indiana, in LaPorte. It's just outside of Chicago. And in fact, it's so close to Chicago that it's still in the Central Time Zone. That's the only part of Indiana that's in the Central Time Zone. So you could watch the 11 o'clock news at 10 o'clock, which I really appreciated. But we had restaurants there, and a friend of mine had flown down to Grand Cayman, and on his way down, flying down to Grand Cayman, he stopped in Providenciales, which is in the Turks and Caicos Islands. And he said, there's this neat little restaurant overlooking the water. It's built out over the water, and it's for lease. He said, you ought to go down and check it out. So I hopped on a plane, went down there, fell in love with the place, fell in love with the island, fell in love with the whole lifestyle. And I was the quintessential Norman Paperman from Herman Wouk's Don't Stop the Carnival. I knew absolutely nothing about island living.
Well, and we should also note you had not even seen the ocean at this point.
No,
right?
I didn't. The only time I saw the ocean is after we took off and we were flying over it.
And you were probably at this stage how old?
35.
35 before we saw the ocean.
Yeah. So time for a career change at 35. I don't know who does that. Seems I'd make a habit of that though, don't I? But at any rate, I flew down there. We closed the deal on the restaurant, went back, told the wife, I said, pack up the kids, we're heading down to the islands. Well, because of my total lack of experience in the islands, within 2 years, we were pretty much broke, out of money. And there's this, on the bulletin board in the dive shop, is a little 3x5 index card that says, mate for sailboat delivery wanted. Pays $50 a day, which in 1985 And as broke as I was at that time, 50 bucks a day was looking pretty good. Because 50 bucks a day equaled about what I had left in my checking account at the time. So, took the job, made the delivery with a guy by the name of Crazy George, which I barely survived. And I was so sick. I got seasick. I stayed sick the whole delivery. It was just miserable. But I fell in love with it. I loved it that much. And so one thing led to another. I got back to Provo after I finished the delivery, which incidentally was in the middle of hurricane season. And my wife told me before I left, she said, well, if you're leaving on this trip in the middle of hurricane season, don't expect me to be here when you get back. She was. That's her over there.
That's her over there. Marianne, we're talking about you. We're talking about you.
And that was my introduction to yachting. And I just decided that I wanted to make my living out at sea. And so that's how I got started.
Okay, but fast forward now, many years, and you are working as a mega yacht captain, and you happen to be working on a boat, and you find out that the boat is suddenly going to be used in a television show. How were you cast to be on the show? Or were you cast? Or did they just get lucky?
No, I wasn't cast to be on the show. All I had to do, God, this is a deal that nobody could pass up. So I'm running a 50-meter Benetti, and it's 165 foot. And the boss calls me up and he says, some TV network wants to do a reality show on our boat, and they're paying us a ton of money. And he said, all you got to do, so they got their own captain, they got their own crew, they got their own everything. All you got to do is take the boat down to St. Martin, drop it off. They got you a hotel on the beach for 2 months. You sit there and drink foo-foo drinks, go down, check on the boat every 3 or 4 days, make sure they're not tearing it up, and we're golden. 8-week charter. I'm in. Sign me up.
Did they tell you you'd have to be on camera?
No, at that point in time, we didn't have there was no indication. I was just going to sit in a hotel and lay on the beach and go down and check on the boat every 3 or 4 days when they finished what they were doing. They had their own captain. But then when we went to turn the insurance papers in and all the credentials, we found out that the captain wasn't qualified. He had the paperwork, but he didn't have the experience. And so my boss says, okay, guess what? If you're not using my captain, you're not using my boat. So he was willing to take his toys and go home. Because billionaires are that way. They don't care. It's just another $1 million for them. So he just drew his line in the sand. So they said, okay, we'll use your captain, but we're just going to shoot around him. So they finished the season, and they had cut me out of every scene in the finished product. And then they sent it to network, and network looked at it and they go like, where the hell's the captain? And one of their producers had said, one of the executive producers from the network said, well, we thought he was too old and didn't really fit the genre. I said, yeah, that's what you want to see. You want to see a 23-year-old waltzing out of the cockpit of a 747 when you're up there flying, right? No. So they sent it back after production had finished with it, and it went through post, and network sent it back and said, do it all over again. That's why the first season took like 1.5 years to get out.
I wonder.
Yeah.
I had my book ready to go out, and Kate, the chief stew, flew up to Indianapolis and was helping me write my book.
Right.
And we were like, it was supposed to come out in October, and she ended up writing the producer on Facebook. Yeah. She found the producer. She's like, I found him. And she was so excited she could write him and go, why isn't the show coming out? Isn't that funny? And that's how they made contact So a year later when they were...
So they sent it back, and they said,
I never
find
knew
all
that.
the footage of Captain Lee, put it back in the show. So they did, and as they say, here we are today.
Well, and can you imagine Below Deck without Captain Lee, right? Right?
Thank you.
So I think you are the only crew member from both seasons that's been on every season then.
Yeah, I'm
You're the staple.
yeah. I don't know about all that, maybe in my own mind.
But I think that's wild because you really did sort of stumble into it.
Oh, I totally stumbled into it. I mean, I fell into it. I didn't want to do it. It was like they said, you need to do an audition tape. I said, go to hell. I'm not doing that.
So that's why the show was late. They really redid things. I've heard.
They sent they only bought 10 episodes the very first year. The network did. The way it works in TV is you have a production company, they get an idea, they take it to a network, they shop it around to different networks, and one of the networks says, okay, I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to buy it, and we'll take 6 episodes, or we'll take 10 episodes. So they bought 10 episodes, they want finished product, they sent them 10 episodes, and they sent it back and said, this sucks. Where's the captain? So they said, redo it, the whole thing, so it had to go through post-production a second time, which is about a 6-month process. From the time we finish shooting till the time we get a finished product, it takes about 6 months, and we ship the first episode as soon as we're done shooting it from whatever location we're at. So like in Thailand this year, in February when we started shooting, the first episode finished, we shipped that first episode out that week and they started working on it. So that's how intricate the process is.
So I'm glad you mentioned Thailand, because if we go back to season 1, we were in the Caribbean, and that was what, 3 seasons down in BVI's? Saw you in Tortola, so you were...
Yeah, we interjected a season in the Bahamas in between there. I think season 2 was in the Abacos.
Okay.
So we did season 3 was the Abacos.
And that was your territory. Like, you knew that
I
world.
love the Bahamas.
Yeah, that's where you got your sea legs.
Absolutely. So to speak.
So to speak. So then the hurricane happened, and Bravo said, we got to move this operation, and they chose the South Pacific. What's that been like? Had you been there before that, or?
Never been there. It's always been on my list of places to go. So when they said, where do we go? I just tossed out a couple of ideas and said,
well, here's my wish list.
yeah. And Tahiti was just, it raised the level, I think, for the whole show. It just raised the bar, and it was such a unique experience because Tahiti is like stepping back into time. It's like Jurassic Park. It's just like you go there and their culture. You wake up in the morning and you go out. I'm having my coffee in the wheelhouse and I'm looking at these guys in these dugout canoes, and they have professional teams that carry on the tradition that they've been doing for centuries, that are sponsored by Rolex, Heineken, and they do these 30, 40, 50 mile races out in the open ocean in these dugout canoes, and it's just, they take their culture very seriously. And you walk down a beach in Tahiti and you won't find a cigarette butt or a beer can or an empty bottle. It's just like unspoiled, untouched. And so that's when you really, really appreciate it.
Do you think they'll go back to the Caribbean now that we're starting to see some...
I wouldn't say the Caribbean's off limits, that we wouldn't go back there. I think if we do go back there, it'd be on a very limited basis. because we've set the bar now to where, you know, we really like the exotic locations, and the guys that we have working, you know, running the cameras and stuff, they get such great shots with the technology that we have today. So it's just raised the level.
So that was something I was wondering from the production side of things. You know, being the 7th season, how have things changed? If you're in the industry and you talk to people, they say, "Oh, it's scripted." I said, "No, not scripted." Because you know, I knew Adrian, and I know Kate, and obviously I know you and Ben. And how much, though, after your 5th, 6th season, are they looking for, how do we plant a seed? Or, I know it's not scripted, but has the production changed at all in the 7 seasons? And follow-up question is going to be, which has been your favorite season?
Production has gotten more, they've actually adapted to the yachting lifestyle as opposed to the yachting lifestyle adapting to production. Because as I've always told them from day one, you don't have, they get impatient. They want instant gratification. They're having a slow day. They're sitting up in the control room. They're watching all of the monitors, and they're going, "Jesus Christ, nothing's happening here." I mean, what is going on?
She's cleaning another toilet.
Yeah, I mean, can't somebody plug a toilet or get drunk or do something? And it's like, I said, be patient. If you know anything about yachting, all this stuff will happen in good time. All you have to do, I mean, let me see. You sit there and you put young, attractive, reasonably well educated, young, did I say young? Yeah, young.
And attractive.
Right, attractive. And you take them and you put them in an exotic location. You make them work really, really long hours. You pay them pretty well. They got a lot of disposable cash. And then you give them carte blanche to go out and do what they want on their day off. And then you make them all live together 24 hours a day. I mean, what the hell could go wrong? Right? So it's gonna happen. All you have to do is sit back and wait for it. But TV people want to plot things. And I just said, sit back, relax, it'll happen. And sure enough, like the next day or two, they'll go like, "God damn, did you see what the hell happened last night? They went out and you ain't gonna believe this shit." So, it's not scripted, it happens all organically. Because all you gotta do is put all the ingredients in place, which we have, and then wait for it.
Well, I don't know where we are on time, and I do have other questions, but I also feel like I should take this to the audience. Does anyone have a question for Captain? Okay, I've got one back there. I'm going to go out there with this. That's why I have wireless. And we're going to let some of the audience members ask some questions.
I am tethered.
You've got 2. All right, well. Oh, you've got one first. We'll let you go first. Ladies first.
Captain Lee, have you ever run aground?
Oh, hell yeah. If you've got a captain that you know that tells you that he's never run aground, odds are he's never left the goddamn dock.
Question number 2.
What's the difference between being stopped by the U.S. Coast Guard, and some other countries' Coast Guard?
I couldn't hear that.
What's the difference between being stopped by the U.S. Coast Guard and some other countries' Coast Guard?
Differences in Coast Guards between U.S. and other countries.
Our Coast Guard plays by the rules. Theirs, they make the rules up as they go along. You know, it's you can get stopped in some countries, and it's all about, it's nothing more than a shakedown. They just want some money. Some of them may be in uniform, some of them may not be. So it just depends on where you're at. But our Coast Guard, God bless them. They play by the rules. Kudos to our Coast Guard.
And by the way, if you have not read Lee's book, it is not just one of those I was born in and I got on a TV show. He have an incredible, adventurous life prior to Below Deck, where there are stories of Caribbean escapades.
Most of those people are dead now.
Definitely worth a read or a listen, but we are selling books afterwards if anyone would like an autographed copy. Next question.
So I thought it was awesome how you guys saved Ashton. What's the most difficult cast member you've ever had on Below Deck?
Most difficult cast member.
Most difficult cast member, wow. I think that would be Dane. Dane from the Bahamas. That was, he wasn't there long for obvious reasons. I mean, we actually, we got him on film, and he was in the crew mess, and he's down there and he's got a bottle of Crown Royal in one hand, and he's got a bottle of Budweiser in the other hand, and he's just like alternating pulls, and there's nobody else there. It's just him, and he's just hammered, and he's talking. And when we got into post-production with that particular scene, we tried to slow it down enough so that we could understand what he was saying. And so we slowed it down, and everybody looked at everybody and went like, and so we slowed it down some more, and everybody's looking at her like, I got nothing. And we slowed it down to almost stop. And
what was Dane's nationality?
Still nothing.
Remember?
He was a surfer dude.
Oh, he wasn't American. Okay.
So.
Did you have a follow-up?
We finally just did a bunch of gibberish that they do on TV stuff with the actors.
Voiceover? Or
yeah, no, we didn't do a voiceover because we had no idea what he said, and to this day still don't. So on the closed captioning, they just did, you know, all those symbols that they have across the top on your keyboard. That's what we did. We put all that in. That's what he said.
Gibberish.
It was hilarious.
This isn't so much a follow-up question, but the fact that you guys, the way you guys saved Ashton, or the guy from South Africa, with the around his foot, it was amazing, and I just want to tell you that it was just great. Absolutely great. I mean, I watched it on TV and I was like, I can't believe they saved him. It was amazing.
That day was really, really difficult. 3 things had to happen. And that's why when you guys see me usually at the beginning of the season, I really stress radios and communication, because if Riley hadn't said man overboard, then I'm still in gear. So I've got a 703-ton boat going forward, dragging Ashton. I mean, I damn near drowned him anyhow. And immediately after she said man overboard, I take the boat out of gear. But I don't know where he's at, and I don't get any more communication from them as to where he's at, because otherwise I could have reversed. I could have put the boat in reverse, but I don't know where he's at. Physically, I can't see him. You know, there's 185 feet behind me. And then the other thing that happened was Brent dropped his camera, and he undid the lines, and then Ross undid the lines on the other side to cut him loose.
And that was your a cameraman on the production crew that stepped in, for those that hadn't seen it.
And the people in the control room were going nuts. They go, she dropped his goddamn camera. What's going on? But they had no idea.
He was saving a life.
They didn't know. Exactly. But those 3 things had to happen. If those 3 things didn't happen, then Ashton wouldn't be here today. So it's dangerous out there. and you really have to pay attention. So the communication thing, that's why I stress it so much every year, and that's why I get so pissed off, and you hear me just like, God damn it!
Radios.
It's just so important. People's lives hang in the balance.
We've got a follow-up right here.
Well, so this is something, you know, I spend a lot of time on the water and watching you guys on the mega yachts. When you have your crew, and I know it's limited as to if you decide to cut someone, especially when you call them up to the wheelhouse, if they've screwed up, obviously done something wrong on the charter that, you know, obviously you need to talk to them. Where do you sort of cultivate the line of, all right, you're going to get another chance, or where you have to decide you're no longer going to be on this vessel, and you're either going to run the charter without that person, or you're going to have to get someone flown in or picked up? I mean, that has to be a pretty big decision to make, and you know, where do you cut that off at, you know, with that person?
Most of that depends on the attitude of the individual I'm dealing with. If I bring somebody up to the wheelhouse and I go, listen, you know, you really screwed the pooch on this last deal, and here's where you went wrong, and here's where you need to step it up, and you know, we just can't have this kind of behavior. And if they get all testy and, you know, arrogant, I'm not the right person to get arrogant with, because it comes down to you can either do it or you can't. And if you can't, I have no problem cutting your ass loose in the middle of a charter. Doesn't bother me one bit. We'll run a man down, no problem. Everybody else will work harder, and at the end of the day, the tips will get bigger. But we will get the job done. But it all depends on the attitude of the individual. If you're going to step up to the plate and you want to do the right thing and you want to do the job properly, if you're really interested in improving yourself, then I'm all for it. I'm all about second chances. Lord knows I've had my share of them. So
Read the book. You'll learn all about those second chances.
indeed.
It's a great book.
Thank you.
Quickly though, that reminded me of two quick things that I wanted to ask. Suki had said, "What's the nationality of Dane?" And it made me realize this season, you guys have a lot of non-Americans on board, and seasons 1, 2, and 3, I believe the whole crew were American. And I remember thinking, well, this isn't like when I was a yacht stewardess. I was the only American. not as many U.S. Crew members as there are from South Africa or from Australia, New Zealand, you name it, France, Italians. So did Bravo change the rules that they said that you don't have to have an American passport to, because I know in the Med they can be any nationality, but now you guys have a lot of non-U.S. members.
It had something to do with Bravo being a U.S. company, and because U.S. companies have to employ U.S. citizens. But we checked with maritime lawyers and found out that depending on the flag vessel that we had, depending on how we structured it, we could go ahead and employ legally people from other countries.
Non-US.
And we thought that the diversity would make it a much more interesting program if we've got, you know, diverse cultures involved, so that everybody got to see that it is truly an international, you know, culture.
It is, and it truly does more accurately, at least for me, represent what I write about in my book about getting into the yachting industry, is that you're
Absolutely, because yachting is such a cross section of just, you know, so many different cultures and so many different countries, and people get into it for a lot of different reasons.
I have one more question back here that I saw, but before that, you never answered which is your favorite season. It was the part 2 of my last question. Do you have one?
Wow. I don't know if I've had it yet.
All right, good answer. Hey, good answer. You're not going to offend any of your crew or destination.
So did you watch last season with Sandy, the whole cook issue, with the first cook being fired, a third stew having to step up and be a cook, and
Below deck med.
Yeah, the last season
Yeah.
of Sandy.
I
What,
did.
what is your opinion about what happened? I mean, like 3 chefs in 1 season. I mean, Ben is amazing, but like the third stew stepping in as a chef, that's quite interesting. It is crazy.
The only thing I can say about that is it happens. In order to, you can't really second guess somebody's decisions because you have to be there real time, and you have to see it happen firsthand. And I wasn't there to see it evolve firsthand. All I saw was the same thing that you guys saw on TV. So I just, I commend Captain Sandy for the way that she handled it. She made the best out of what she could do with what she had to work with at the time. And it was a tough spot to be in. I mean, God, you're in the height of med season, the peak season, and you blow out a chef, and it's like, Jesus, now what do I do? And you've got somebody in a third stew position that can help you out. And I thought she stepped in, and I thought she did a good job as far as her capabilities could take her. And then I think Sandy made the right call in bringing somebody else in. So, Sandy did a good job. And it's tough out there. It's really tough.
It seems whether it's Below Deck Med or Below Deck South Pacific, Thailand this year, right, because where you are now, that Below Deck is having some trouble casting some chefs that, whether it's talent or in this season, Kevin.
Yachts in general have trouble getting chefs.
Now, you have chefs in your family, I believe that your son is a chef, Sean, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
what is it with, well,
Chefs, and I speak from experience because I've dealt with them in restaurants. I mean, they got attitude. For days, they have attitude. And it's just, when you get on a yacht, no matter how big it is, it gets small in a hurry. I mean, 300 foot you think is really, really big, but guess what? After about, 6 weeks into the season, that thing is small. And the chef is busting his ass, he's running on a little bit of sleep, and maybe he has a sous chef, maybe he doesn't have a sous chef, maybe he's relying on the deck crew to help him out in the galley. But it is tough. But most of them are batshit crazy. They are. They're just.
I working in marketing, I always say that about my graphic designers and my video people. I'm like, they're creative. Those creators.
They are artistes.
They're artists, yes. We all know about Van Gogh, right? So, Suki has a question. All right, here we go. I have no idea what it's going to be.
Well, Captain Lee and I always talk about fashion, and I find him to be the most fashionable man when he's not on the yacht, but he has so many beautiful cowboy boots, and I wanted to know, what do you do with your cowboy boots when you're on charter or on tour? Do you bring them with you? Obviously you can't wear that on the boat.
Absolutely. I take my boots wherever I go.
Is this guy not the best?
I'm going to
dressed
die with
alive?
my boots on.
So 2 more quick questions that were just handed to me. Somebody wanted to know how many people have you fired in whether it's below deck, well, let's just go with in your career. Can you think of?
In my career in yachting?
That's going to be tough.
Wow. That's a tough one. I have no idea.
Dozens?
But on the show, I think I may have gone this current season with that exception. I think I may have gone, I think my record in 1 year was 4. Well, we got rid of 4 crew members in 1 year.
On below deck?
Boy, you wanted to see production have a hissy fit. Anybody seen a hissy fit? Yeah, well, when I fired the fourth one, and I wanted to get a fifth one going, and they said, all right, anybody remember Rocky? Raquel? Yeah. Rocky was going to be my last one, and they said, you can't, we don't have any more people. And I said, I don't care. So, and we only had one more charter to go, so I sucked it up and toughed it out, but it was brutal. But yeah, I think 4 in one season was my record, and probably 1 or 2 a year, so probably 14, 15.
Because people have to realize it's not just crew doing a good job, it's crew getting along with crew. And when crew can't get along, it causes rifts throughout.
Yeah,
throughout the
when
business.
crew don't get along, it affects everything. It affects your tips, it affects, especially when you're in the charter business. If you're with private owners, it's a different story. But when you're chartering and the pressure's on and it's week in, week out, 2-day turnarounds, 1-day turnarounds. I mean, I've had owners standing on the dock with their bags packed as the charter guests are getting off. And I've told them, I said, go get a hotel room, because you're not sleeping here tonight. Well, sheets aren't clean, none of the beds are changed.
Yeah, it's a lot to flip that boat over.
Yeah.
One other one is, what are the roughest seas that you've ever been in? The roughest seas.
The roughest seas I've ever been in was with Crazy George.
Again, you gotta get the book, but it's
Yeah.
a great story.
And they were so big, we had to look up to see daylight, to see the sky. That's how big the seas were. So I'm guessing they were 25, 30 foot, because if you didn't look straight up, you didn't see sky.
And that was a delivery in the Caribbean.
That was a delivery in the Caribbean.
Any other questions for Captain Lee? This is just, yes. You got one?
What advice you have for the greenies out there?
The green stews, or crew. What advice do you have for people who want to get into the yachting industry as crew?
Come into it with a good attitude. Keep a good attitude, a good work ethic. Keep your head down, your mouth shut, and work hard. And learn from the people that are willing to take you under their wing and teach you. And if you do that, it's amazing how much you can learn and how fast you can progress up the ladder in our industry, from third stew to second stew to chief stew to whatever. I mean, the possibilities are really endless, because quality people are at a premium in our industry. They really, really are. And people that have a good attitude and a good work ethic will go far, and they'll go far very fast.
You forgot the biggest piece of advice, though. She's supposed to read The Insider's Guide to Becoming a Yacht Stewardess. I had that. Oh, come on. Any last questions while we, oh, we got one right here.
You guys have some big tips, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Do people really carry that kind of cash around?
Sure they do. And they have pretty innovative ways of doing it. You would be amazed. I mean, it's not unusual, because you know the old saying, cash is king? Still true to this day. So especially, like when you go to the Med and you need to secure dockage at the Monaco Grand Prix, and you want to be stirring in as the Formula One race cars are going by, you better be rolling down the dock with, 6 figures in cash in a suitcase to the dockmaster, because otherwise you're going to be sitting on the hook. You're not even coming in. And they have ways of getting the cash there. They're pretty
Not
well
running at the
connected.
ATM either, yeah, right?
Yeah.
All right, anyone else have a question for Lee? Okay, well, again, We don't remember what year this is. It's all running together. Us sitting up here and like, probably fourth or fifth. But thank you for
I
coming
still
back
love it.
again. I know the U.S. Super Yacht Association really appreciates it. Kitty really appreciates it. I know you guys are great friends. And, real quickly though, what new things are you doing right now? I know you are the captain of the Hard Rock Cafe's Winterfest parade, right?
I am, and that's the biggest one-day event in the state of Florida. We get 1 million viewers, all sitting in boats and shoreside for that one boat parade, and it's a great
I just realized what you did there. One day.
one
Because
day.
you could go, oh, the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. There's so many people. But the parade is one day,
1 million people,
1 million
one
people.
day.
I've not seen the Hard Rock since the new,
Oh, it is
isn't
spectacular.
it? Yeah, I saw it online. I need to get over there.
It is,
before I fly
it
out
is
of town.
gorgeous.
This will be your what year? Are you the Grand Marshal or they call you the Captain?
No, I'm the official captain,
Official
not the
captain.
Grand Marshal.
Okay.
Maybe one day, you never know.
And this is what year is this you've been involved with that?
I think it's my 5th or 6th year.
Well, again, thank you for coming out to talk to all of us, and I hope everyone's watching season 7 of Below Deck. And also remember, over here, Bluewater Superyacht Bridge Services, Bluewater Books and Charts, a staple here in the superyacht industry based in Fort Lauderdale. They are selling Captain Lee's book, and he'll be here to autograph them if anyone would like an autographed copy. I highly recommend it. And in fact, I have both the hardback and the audio. It just was easier to do the audio, but please go purchase it. It's
Thank you,
totally
everyone.
worth it. It's wonderful. Thank you, Lee. Thank you.